I'd like to welcome you all here. This is the Mining 102, or otherwise known as the Advanced class. Put an X in class.uni if you were with me yesterday for the Mining 101 class. Looks like about half the class. So if you were not in the Mining 101 class yesterday, put an O or a 0 in the class.e-uni chat channel. There you go. So that's about half and half, actually. Well, for those of you who missed the class yesterday, I'm sure all of those who attended will tell you that it was the most amazing, incredible class ever, and you missed an incredible experience. Hopefully we'll come close to matching that here today. I understand that we have posted a recording of that class somewhere, and whoever, Medea, I think you recorded that. If you could repost the link in the chat channel, that would be greatly appreciated. People can go back. There you go. Thank you very much. So if you want to go back later and listen to that basic 101 class, that would be fantastic. Also, the syllabus for the Mining 101 class is on the E-University Wiki. You can just go there and do for Mining 101. Or you can click on the link in the chat channel there, and you can take a look at that later. That covers some very basics about fundamentals about mining, in particular about asteroid mining and HiSec, and we touched on a few other issues. This particular class is going to focus specifically on advanced mining techniques, ships, and equipment. We're going to cover ice mining today, as well as gas harvesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about low-sec and null-sec mining, in particular Mercatsit. We are not going to cover moon mining today. That's for very advanced folks who want to do Tech 2 component manufacturing. We have actually another separate class on that. We'll cover that at some point in the future. But today we're going to cover some of the more advanced techniques. If you are interested in some of the basic mining fundamentals, a bit more about entry-level mining ships, and HiSec asteroid mining techniques, please go back and take a look at the Mining 101 syllabus and listen to that recording, and it'll give you all the fun. Couple of ground rules before we get into the content. If you have not already done so, please do check your Mumble settings. Make sure you have push to talk enabled or that you've muted yourself in channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. I do love to hear myself talk and don't like it when I get interrupted. So if you could keep Mumble silent while we go along. At the end of the class, I'll open up the Mumble channels if you want to just have a general conversation and ask questions verbally. That would be completely okay. Or you can enter your questions in the class.e-uni chat channel. Please join us there if you haven't already done so. I appreciate interruptions and easily so feel free to type those questions in, and if they're pertinent, I will try to answer them as we go on. For those of you who do not know me, I'm the E-University Teaching Manager, so if you enjoy our classes, me and my staff are the ones who try to get those organized. If you do have any interest in any particular classes you'd like us to run, please go on the E-University forum and post under the class requests thread. And we're always reading that and looking. We try to fit. Picky in chat is saying that I'm getting out. Let me just verify that you can hear me. Am I coming through okay? Let me know in chat if you are hearing me adequately. Okay, yeah, I'm afraid we're going to go in and out today, so if it looks like I'm completely indecipherable, let me know, and I'll try to repeat wherever it is that I got cut off. Celia, if you're not hearing me, then you have no way of me knowing what I'm saying. So, sorry I can't help you. All right, let's go ahead into the content. First of all, let's just cover a few things from yesterday, in particular, mining ship progression. Most people start today with the Venture, which is a very balanced entry-level mining craft. We discussed that in some detail yesterday in the Mining 101 class. The Venture is a relatively new ship in the EVE mining universe. There's some information on the Venture. It's a great ship to train up for. You do need to train the mining frigate skill. And if you are interested in mining, it's definitely worth going ahead and training that skill. It's not a very long train, and you can train very quickly. Also, if you want a free mining frigate, a free Venture, if you do the industry or business tutorial mission, along the lines of doing those that mission thread, you'll get a free Venture, so it doesn't cost. Someone asked me yesterday, what if I fit Module X? It's more expensive than the Venture. Well, the Venture essentially is a free ship if you do those missions, so anything you put on it is going to be more expensive. But you don't want to put like officer or faction modules on a Venture. That's a good way of getting ganked. It is fairly fragile, although it is also pretty agile, but it's a great entry-level craft for learning some of the basics about. Very good, by the way, for doing gas mining and wormholes, because it's the only ship in EVE that gets a bonus for gas harvesting. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I mentioned yesterday that if you're a serious miner, then you should move beyond the mining frigate, the Venture, as soon as possible and train up for mining barges. And in particular, you are wanting to train up for what I think is the best entry-level mining ship in the game, and that is the Retriever. There's the link to information about the Retriever. The focus on the Retriever is on autonomy. It's great for solo mining. It's a moderately productive producer. It has 2 high slots and gets a 50% bonus to strip miner yield. And also, if you do ice harvesting, you get a 1/3 reduction in cycle time for ice harvesting. But the main thing that makes the Retriever attractive is that it's relatively inexpensive and it has a very big ore hold, 22,000 cubic meters in the ore hold. And you can increase that as you train up the mining barge skill trained up to a maximum of 27,500. So it's as big as a jet can, a jettisoned canister, once you get up to mining barge 5. It's also fairly robust in terms of a tank. You can fit battle cruiser level hit points in terms of a tank on it, which is not too bad, and you have 25 cubic meters of a drone bay for rat defense, and also you can put a few mining drones in there if you want to improve your throughput. So the Retriever would be the first ship that I would train up for if you're serious about being a miner. Along the lines, you're going to also have the develop the skills to fly the Procurer. And the Procurer has 1 high slot on it, but it does get a 200% bonus to strip miner yield and also a 2/3 reduction in ice harvester duration. That sounds like a big bonus, but you only have 1 strip miner or ice harvester going at a time, so you're not going to get as much throughput. But the tank on it is unbelievable. You can definitely have battleship level hit points in a tank on a Procurer. So if you're ever worried about getting ganked, the Procurer is a nice ship to fly. I do have some, and I do fly them occasionally. You'll also occasionally see Covetors out there. Covetors have 3 high slots, and so it's a focused ship on high production. You get a very nice bonus to strip miner yield, as well as some reduction in ice harvester duration. So when you've got 3 of them going and you've got the appropriate skills, you get quite a bit of production out of the Covetor. However, the tank on it is fairly low. It's probably cruiser level EHP, cruiser level tank. But you do get a larger drone bay, so you can have a full flight of mining drones on there, as well as a full flight of combat drones to fend off rats. The downside of the Covetor, of course, is that its ore bay is fairly small, only 7,000 cubic meters. So you're going to need to fly with friends. You're going to need to have people with industrials or an Orca to be able to, or you're going to be doing jet can mining, which we talked about yesterday if you run the Covetor. You don't see the Covetor very often. Generally, it's kind of fallen out of favor today. The skills to be able to fly a Covetor. If you're going to be flying a Covetor, you might as well be flying an X-Humor. It doesn't take that much longer to get up to that level. Cover very briefly the X-Humors. The X-Humors are the Tech 2 versions of mining barges. You can fit strip miners and ice harvester turrets on these as well. These all require you to have mining barge 5 and X-Humor at least to level 1 in order to fly, and then as you skill up on X-Humors, you get additional bonuses. There is the Skiff, which is the focus again on tank, but it only has one particular high slot on it. But you get some very strong resilience on that as well. You get not only the same bonuses as the Procurer, but you also get a 5% bonus to all shield resistances. Basically, that's an extra 25% resistance bonus because you're going to have all of those skills trained up. So that results in some extremely high battleship level kinds of tanks, and it is very, very tough ship to blow up. So the Skiff, if you're serious about tanks, if you're super paranoid, it's not a bad ship to have. The Mackinac is by far the most popular mining ship in the game these days. I have, how many do I have? I have 6 of them. And, which is ridiculous, you don't need that many, but you do probably need at least 2 if you're serious about being a miner in EVE. 1 for mining ore, and 1 for mining ice, because they have very different fits. You're going to be putting different rigs on the Mackinac if you're going to be fitting for ice mining as opposed to ore mining. So I have 2 Mackinacs that I use all the time, either for ice mining or ore mining, but I have some other ones as well. I've played with a bunch of different fits there. The focus on the Mackinac is also on autonomy. It has a very, very big bay on it. In fact, with full skills on it, it's 35,000 cubic meters. So you can solo mine in a Mackinac and fill up your ore and then shuttle back and forth to the station very effectively and efficiently. You get all the same bonuses as the Retriever, but you also get some additional drone bay space, which is very nice, and you can fit low-level battleship EHP on it in terms of a tank. So it's if you fit it appropriately, I can get about 28,000 hit points on it with a good shield tank if you fit it for tanking. So it's that's not too bad. That's pretty decent for a mid-size solo mining vessel. They are not cheap, however. They've gotten fairly expensive. I do have a Hulk. Once upon a time, the Hulk was the most popular mining ship in the game because it was just the best at everything. That's no longer true. In fact, you generally don't see days. Oh, hold on a moment. Great. I got a pizza coming. By the way, I'm not seeing any chat or questions as we go along here, so just if you could, let me know if, okay, here we go. I got one from Picky. Thank you. Just want to make sure I'm coming through okay. Should we shuttle back and forth where we are going to sell it, or should we find a station to dump it in? Well, here's how I do it. I recommend that you go to a station that's nearby to dump it in, and then you can go ahead and later on transport it to wherever it is that you're going to sell it. Personally, I always ship back and forth to Minmatar Mining Corporation stations if I'm mining in the Altrat area, because I have Perfect Refine at MMC stations, which we talked about yesterday, and there are a ton of them around in the area, and so I just go to the nearest MMC station. But I definitely recommend that you shuttle back and forth to the nearest station, and then you can get another industrial and move them wherever it is you want them to go. It's all about speed. So there's no reason to do multiple jumps when you're mining, no reason to take it all the way to Heck, for example, and then jump all the way back. Take it to the nearest station. That's the most efficient way to handle it. Cyrus, I'll talk a little bit more about the various rigs for ore mining and ice mining. For ore mining, there aren't any particular rigs, so you're going to be fitting primarily for tank there or for capacity. Okay, hey, my pizza's here, so stand by for about 1 minute if you don't mind. Okay, sorry for that rude interruption. I apologize for that. Get to have dinner later now. Anyway, let me go back and answer the questions here. I forgot where I was, so let me go back and page back here. Oh, yes, I was talking about the rigs, Cyrus. Good question. So, yes, if you're going to be mining for ore, you're going to be mining or rigging primarily for tank. However, there is a special ice harvester improvement module, or rather rig, and you're going to fit one of those in your rig slots on a Mackinac. That'll improve your cycle time for your dedicated ice mining Mackinac. Zach Lou asks, with the bonuses, isn't the yield the same for the procurer versus retriever and skip versus Mac? Not exactly. Again, it depends on how you fit it and what your skills are. Generally speaking, you're going to have slightly lower production on the 1 high slot ships than you are for the 2 high slot ships. So the procurer is never going to be quite as good as the retriever, but it's close. I mean, it's so close as to almost be negligible, especially when you max out your skills. So I have mine in a procurer, and it's great. The problem with the procurer is that it doesn't have much of a ore hold, so it's kind of a pain. And I do get a little bit better production out of my Mackinac than I do out of a procurer. So definitely recommend that you go with the 2 slot ships, the 2 high slot ships, the retriever and or the Mackinac. A little easier to fit overall, great for solo mining. It's just there's a reason why they're the most popular mining ships, and that is that they're a very nice, relatively nice balance between tank capacity and the ability and flexibility. The other ships are very much dedicated. Not that I have anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with a Hulk, but Hulks are really good for team or gang mining. Not so great as solo miners because it just doesn't work, and plus they tend to get blown up these days. There's a lot of Hulkageddon is still going on, and for those of you who don't know what Hulkageddon is a active campaign to blow up Hulks, and the goons actually pay bonuses to people who do so. So they tend to leave retrievers and Mackinacs alone because they're not worth ganking, but they like to blow up Hulks. But so not many people fly them these days. How do you mine pizza? I wish you could mine pizza in the game. That would be really cool. Jade asks, what am I doing with all the ore? Am I selling it, or do I store it and produce stuff afterwards? Personally, I do mining for ore for production. I make most of my money in-game doing Tech 2 manufacturing and invention. And you need a lot of ore to do that effectively. So I mine a lot. I also do ice mining. And the reason I do ice mining is not because it's terribly lucrative, but it's always in demand because POS, player-owned starbbases use ice ice components as part of their fuel. So you can always sell it. And it's also the best AFK mining ever. When we get to ice mining, I will tell you a little bit more about it. Although many people sell their ore or their minerals and make good money doing so. And currently today, prices for good compared to what they were, say, a year or so ago. And you can make actually pretty good money as a miner these days. Vesta, thank you for posting the link to that rig. That's the Medium Ice Harvester Accelerator. I forgot the name of it, but yes. And unfortunately, you can't fit two of them on a Mackinac. It doesn't have enough oomph in it, if you will, to be able to fit two of them. It just doesn't fit. So you can only put one of them on there, but it is definitely worthwhile if you're interested in being a serious ice miner. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Okay, so that kind of brings me up to, I talked about the Hulk, talked about various ships. If you're going to be an advanced miner, you're going to want to get into X-humors as soon as possible. I do recommend that you get into a Mackinac as soon as possible. If you're going to be flying in fleets or groups, then the Hulk is a great ship to have. Because then you can always pass the ore that you mine onto another ship to cart off, which is great. But it's definitely the most productive. But relatively speaking, I think they're kind of a pain to manage. But so lately I've been flying the Mackinac, and a lot of people do. Oh, good question, Vishnu. We're going to talk about ice mining in just a minute, but I'll go ahead and answer your question. Ice mining takes place in ice belts, and most of those are in HiSec, actually. There's one in Egfay. If you've never seen one, fly to Egfay and do a search for asteroids. Do a right-click in space on asteroids, and you'll see that one of those listed is an ice belt, and go ahead and fly out there. They're kind of pretty, actually, and the asteroids just look like big blue rocks, so it's worthwhile. A lot of people in this area do ice mining in the belt in Egfay. Jade asks, for T2 production, you need either other corp members or alts. Do you know what a nice ratio would be for a miner, researcher, manufacturer? Jade, there's no one answer to that. I will tell you that I have a alt character that is fully trained on science for research and invention. And she is in a separate alt corp with a HiSec pause, a small tower. That's where I do all of my invention. And there's 3 labs there in that pause. And then I have other characters to do the mining, and also Nev could do some of that as well. And that's where I make all my T2 manufacturing. So you don't need any more than one character to do it if they have the appropriate skills. There's no optimum mix, really. All right, let's go back to mining, shall we? I want to talk a little bit about mining crystals, because when you're getting into mining barges and X-humors, you're going to be fitting strip mining lasers. Strip mining lasers can operate without a mining crystal. In fact, the Tech 1 versions do, but when you get into the Tech 2 versions, you can mine without crystals. They just do so at a lower level. Thank you, Martis, for posting that link. But if you really want good throughput on the Tech 2 strip miners, then you do want to put dedicated mining crystals in there. Okay. You load those crystals into your strip miners just like ammunition. Different crystal types are optimized for different ores. You can use them for other ores, but they work at much less efficiency. So if I'm mining Veldspar, I'm going to load a Veldspar mining crystal into my Tech 2 strip miners, and that will optimize the production of generating getting all of the Veldspar that I can possibly get. I can use that to mine other ores, but it's going to operate at much less efficiency. What those crystals do is they will definitely help improve the throughput. For example, if I put a Tech 1 Veldspar mining crystal into my strip miner, that's going to improve the throughput of by about 62.5%. If I put in a Tech 2 crystal, that's going to increase it by 75%. So it's definitely worth to be able to put the higher level, higher tech level crystals in there if you can. And you do need to train ore processing for specific ores up to level 4 in order to fit the Tech 2 crystals into your Tech 2 strip miners. You just get better throughput that way. Thomas, they're definitely worth it. I mean, a 62.5% improvement, even for a Tech 1 crystal, is a big improvement in your overall throughput. And 75%, which is another 12.5% improvement for the Tech 2 crystals, I mean, it makes a big, big difference. So if you're serious about maximizing your ISK per hour, you're going to want to load strip miner Tech 2s, and you're going to put Tech 2 crystals in them as soon as you possibly can. Vishnu asks, is the average miner better off mining the most valuable ores and bartering for the lesser ones when they are needed? Vishnu, if you want to get serious about mining, the answer to your question is yes. However, as a practical matter, you're just going to mine everything. Okay? You're going to fly into a belt, and you're going to start with the highest value ores, and you're going to mine those out, and then you'll move down to the less valuable ores. And eventually, depending on how long you want to mine, I actually kill entire belts because I'm just too lazy to fly from belt to belt. And if you fly with a retriever or a Mackinac, you're going to have a big enough ore bay that it really doesn't matter. So go ahead and start with the most valuable ores first, and then work your way down. And I always start with the 10% and 5% concentration of ores if I can find them, and mine those out first, and then work my way down. But and then people make fun of Amber because Amber is considered one of the least valuable ores in HiSec. But I'll mine out Amber too if necessary because I need the isogen for production. So it depends on what you're going to do with it. But generally speaking, as a practical matter, what you do is you fly into a belt. You start with the most expensive or valuable ores, and you work your way down. One thing about mining crystals is they are volatile. They do wear out. You can see the amount of damage to a crystal if you hover over the fitted strip miner module with a crystal installed. It'll tell you the amount of damage, the percentage of damage. A Veldspar mining crystal 1 will last about 20 hours. And a Veldspar mining crystal 2 will last about 10 hours, but it's still worth it. I know they wear out faster, but you definitely get better production out of them. In fact, Eklon asks, is the volatility of crystals related to the amount of ore mined or to the activation time? It's just activation time. It does wear out at a constant rate. It doesn't matter how much you've actually mined. So the longer you have it out, it goes down at a very constant rate. So basically you get about 20 hours, as I said, for Tech 1 and about 10 hours for Tech 2. Jazon asks a very good question. Is it true that you never want to fully deplete an asteroid because it'll respawn smaller after downtime? This is a myth. It is not true. That myth has been validated. Leaving an asteroid with ore remaining will ensure a more generous replenishment of downtime is the general myth. Actually, it's randomly determined based on the size of the asteroid at downtime. There is a cap on, or an upper limit on, the size of asteroids in belts, in asteroid belts. So it'll never get beyond a certain size. The amount that it will respawn to is randomly determined up to that limit. So if you did not mine it one day, it'll get a little bigger the next day, but the amount that it'll get bigger will be smaller relative to that upper limit. If you leave one in there, it doesn't get any much more bigger than if you just mined it out completely. So it's randomly determined up to that limit, and so you might as well just go ahead and mine the whole thing out. I used to believe that too, and found out that wasn't true. People have actually tested, and I've gone to some remote belts and deliberately left the amounts, and then I get very frustrated when I come back and find that they haven't gotten much bigger. So they do grow, but there is always an upper limit. If you're going to be doing advanced mining, you're probably also going to want to have either a hauler alt or another player that's flying an industrial, especially if you're doing jet can mining. Industrials are very handy. I do a whole other class on hauling. I'm not going to cover that in detail here today, but if you do have a large size industrial, it's perfectly well suited to jet can mining. One thing that we are seeing more of now is people flying freighters to pick up jet cans, and the reason for that is because as of the last patch, you can now pick up items from a jet can like a regular industrial. You couldn't do that before. So now I'm seeing more and more people use freighters. Jason, let's hold that question until we get to gas mining. I'll get there shortly. How many people here have not mined with Orca support? How many people here have not mined with Orca support? Well, that's quite a few. That is quite a few. In fact, that's most of you here. Okay. If you've not mined with Orca support, let me explain how wonderful Orcas are. Thank you, Cyrus, for posting the link. There is a link to the Orca. The Orca is a mining support ship. It's a giant ship. It is considered a capital ship. It is a gigantic ship specifically designed to support miners. And it has some very unique features. It has an ore hold that can store up to 40,000 cubic meters of ore, dedicated ore hold. It also has what's known as a fleet hold, which is an additional hold that anyone in the fleet can use if the Orca pilot sets it that way. It can be made available to fleet and or corporation members. And there's also a cargo hold, which can be as large as 72,000 cubic meters if you have the right fittings and skills. So it can hold a lot of stuff. And as a result, it can be used as basically as a giant jet can. There's also a ship maintenance bay where you can store ships in it. Basically, you can dock a limited number of ships there. Not too many, though. Only a couple of hulks, for example, will fit in the ship maintenance bay. But more importantly, it has a ship fitting service. Yeah, that's right, 400,000 cubic meters, which sounds like a lot, but your ships are big, so it doesn't fit that many of them. Unfortunately, you can't fit things like battleships in there, which would be very cool. The ship fitting service, however, is much more valuable. That allows for ship refitting in space. You can, if you're within range of an Orca, you can change out your crystals, you can change out your fittings, if you're in the fleet, and it definitely makes it, a little bit more, convenient. In fact, many Orcas store spare crystals in the fleet hold, and then as your, crystals wear out, then you can get up to the Orca, you can, use the ship fitting service, swap up your crystals to whatever it is that you need, and you're well on your way. So the Orca is a fantastic fleet support vessel. You'll also find that the bonuses that an Orca can provide through their mining foreman links are extremely valuable. Most people fit laser optimization links in their Orcas, which decreases the cycle time, or mining laser field enhancement, because you can fit 2 of them, so usually that's what you see, so that you can extend the range of your laser range, which is extremely convenient. There's a third type of mining foreman link that no one ever uses. It's the harvester capacitor efficiency link, which decreases capacitor use. Most mining ships are cap stable, so you don't see it very often. Generally, you see the laser optimization link to decrease cycle time and the mining laser field enhancement to increase range. To give you an idea of how far you can fire your lasers, your mining lasers, basically you can extend out to about 25 kilometers with maximum skills. And that mining foreman length for laser range enhancement, that's about double or more than double what you can typically get with a typical strip miner. That is correct. You can replace crystals in space like ammunition, Martis, if you have them in your cargo hold. And unfortunately, all mining ships have really small cargo holds. You also have to have extra space so you can swap them out. So you can't, if you're going on a big fleet, big mining fleet, you never have enough crystals because they do wear out. So it's always handy to have some in the Orca and then be able to use the fitting service to go ahead and fit them for you. Picky, how would you go about asking who is running an Orca fleet to join? I would recommend that you, first of all, join industry.e-uni chat because people tend to go ahead and pull those together. It's a good place to ask. The other place that you can the other thing you can do is join the Ammar Mining Campus or the AMC group. They have their own chat channel on Mumble, and occasionally they'll put together fleets for Orca support as well. And occasionally you'll see them listed in corporate events on the calendar, but not very often. Okay, but I do recommend the Ammar Mining Campus group. If you're very serious about being a miner in the Uni and you want Orca support, that's where all the miners hang out. They're in the industry.e-uni chat. Medea asks, with mining bonuses, is the bonus mined ore counted against the total mineable amount the asteroid holds, or is it magically generated from air? No, it is counted against the total mineable amount of the asteroid. It doesn't create, the bonuses do not create additional ore out of nothing. The asteroids are as big as they are, and as you mine them down to zero, you just mine them faster, and from longer ranges. So it's, they tend to pop, as we say, into zero, disappear with the Orca support. I have an alt character that has maximum Orca bonuses, as well as all of the implants to provide maximum benefits to mining fleets. I was going to demonstrate how to use her, but unfortunately she doesn't have enough leadership skills to be able to support all of you. So there's not much point in doing that. But if you can, do fly with someone that is providing Orca support, because you can greatly improve your throughput and production. Vishnu asks, does Eve University typically provide on-hand fighters for protection from war targets, or are most uni miners out of corp during wartime? The answer is latter. Unless it's an organized mining fleet with combat support, then most people use out-of-corp alts to do mining. Okay, and the truth is that even if they do have mining, combat support for a mining fleet, it's not much of a deterrent. Usually people can jump right on top of a miner and blow them up before they can be chased off by support craft. So I would have to say that providing armed support to a mining fleet is very little protection at all. You can still get killed pretty quickly. It's not, depending on, unless everybody flew procurers, for example, which might not be a bad idea. Martis asks, in practice, how does a mining fleet usually go about getting every pilot paid? Well, there's a couple ways to do mining fleets. There are a number of different spreadsheets. I'm going to give you a couple of examples as we go along here, so bear with me, but I'll go ahead and answer the question. Usually in uni fleets, everybody gets paid an equal amount. So if you come in and you're flying a Venture, you're going to get paid the same amount as someone who's flying a Hulk. It's usually based on the amount of time in fleet. So that is, that's kind of a good deal if you're a relatively new miner, for example. Those who think that's, quote, unfair, there's also the amount, you can also be paid relative to the amount that you contribute, but that is more difficult to log and monitor. So there are spreadsheets for logging when people log in and out, and what they generally do is, if you're going to be paid an equal amount based on the time that you're in the fleet, then that's a very easy calculation to make. If you're not, if you want to pay people who are bringing more advanced ships, then what they typically do is assume the amount of production that you're getting out of those ships and calculate the ratio that way. And that way they'll pay more for a Hulk, say, for example, than they would for a Venture. But generally speaking, it's the total amount of the entire group, and you get paid a proportion to the amount of time that you were with the group actively mining. Jet can is a pain in the ass to count because you have to count. It's easy to keep track of when people log in and log out of the fleet. It's a pain to know. And plus, sometimes you have jet cans and multiple people put stuff in the jet can. So how do you know who it is? Just easier. You go with what's easiest. I mean, most miners are very social, and there's plenty of money to be made. So, especially in the uni, we don't really care. So we don't worry about, taking it out to the 6th level of detail on the, or the 6th decimal place. Later on, if you do mining out in nullsec, if you do mining out in nullsec, you'll see rorquals. Let me give you the link to a rorqual. Rorquals are extremely cool. If you have never actually seen one, take a look at this YouTube link at some point. There you go. You can't look at that in-game, but go to an out-of-game browser and take a look at the rorqual. It is kind of the Orca's big brother. That's a good way of describing it. It's a version. It also, because it's designed for doing mining support in nullsec, it can be fitted with a clone VAT bay. So you can get jump clones from a rorqual in nullsec space, which is kind of cool. It will also compress ore so it can store more, which makes it more productive. And what's very cool, if you look at that particular YouTube video, when a rorqual shows up at a particular site to provide support, it literally unfolds like a transformer. And that's kind of neat. There are also a number of mining support skills that you need to be able to fly an Orca or a rorqual. One of those is the mining foreman, which I've just posted here. If you take a look at leadership skills, the mining foreman is a leadership skill that gives you a 2% yield per level of all fleet mates if you're providing a bonus. There's also mining director, which gives a 100% bonus to link effectiveness after level 2. So if you're a very serious Orca support pilot, you're going to be training mining foreman and mining director to maximize your bonuses. Let's talk about some advanced asteroid mining techniques. First of all, many people do fit survey scanners. Survey scanners are a mid-slat module. They can be used to identify which asteroids have large content. I do tend to fit those. Thank you, Martis. Perfect link. There's a great example. They're very useful for doing AFK mining, otherwise known as away from keyboard mining. You go into a belt, you do a scan with your survey scanner, you see which ones have the most ore, and those are the ones you target first. So they are very handy. Another thing that it'll do is it will tell you how much ore is left in an asteroid, so you don't waste cycles on asteroids that don't have a complete cycle in them. And so that's sort of full too. Also, someone asked which kinds of asteroids should I mine first? Well, I always use the different asteroid variants. I go for them first. If you take a look at that link, so for example, if I'm mining Veldspar, I'll start first with dense Veldspar. And then I'll go to concentrated Veldspar because the dense Veldspar has a plus 10% improved yield. The concentrated Veldspar has a plus 5% improved yield. And then you can begin to mine plain old Veldspar if you want. Yeah, do not AFK mine if you're a Unista in wartime. Use an alt, please. Do not get blown up. There's no reason for that, so don't make it any easier than necessary. I've already covered that asteroids are replenished every day after downtime, but there is a myth. As I said, go ahead and pop the asteroids. You're not going to do any, not going to make a significant difference in how much is left for the next day, unfortunately. I wish it was controllable, but it's not. Also, you can pulse your laser or strip miner as the asteroid gets close to depletion to save cycle time, which is very helpful. Also, if you're in a gang, you can do what's known as Foreman Tagging. The foreman or the head of the fleet will often designate certain asteroids as tagged targets for miners. They'll do scans. And Orca, for example, gets a 100-kilometer range bonus to survey scanners, and therefore they can tag asteroids that are nearly depleted. So they'll do a scan, and if it looks like an asteroid is getting close, they'll actually tag it on your overview, and then you'll know you need to move on to another one. Martis, that is a myth too. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what type of ore it is. There's always a maximum limit on any asteroid in any given belt, and it randomly replenishes from whatever it is to whatever the maximum is, and it doesn't make any difference if you leave any ore there or not. That's right. Belts don't break. They never deplete completely. Yeah, the AMC is a great place to go and practice all these techniques. They're a great bunch of folks too. They're really friendly, and they're very helpful to new players. So they want more miners. They want to they form that group specifically to help support miners. So if you're interested in really learning about mining in the Uni, get involved with the AMC. They do events all the time, and they're relatively smart about going to places that to make it a little safer for more targets. Yesterday we talked about perfect refining. I just want to post that link to remind you about that. That is necessary to get the greatest profit from mining. To be able to get to perfect refine, you have to train refining 5, refinery efficiency 4, and then also at least one, any particular ore that you want to refine, you need to train that at least to level 2. And then you have perfect refine. You also need 6.67 standings with the station's corporation to get rid of any taxes. So perfect refining is definitely worth it. And yes, effective standings, very good. Thank you very much. So you do want to train up any kind of standing support skills, like connections, for example, or social, and that will help to improve your overall standings. There really is no benefit, Lara, to taking it over to 5, taking the individual ore refining skills. However, you do want to take those up to at least level 4, remember, to be able to fit Tech 2 crystals. And so there's another reason to do it other than for refining. All right, I'm way over time, so let me hurry up here. Let's talk about ice mining. How many people here have not mined ice? Give me a wave in the chat channel if you've not mined ice. Well, that's most of you. Okay. Well, let me tell you about ice mining. Ice mining is a little different than asteroid mining. It is relatively safe because it's in HiSec. There's a link to some more information about ice mining. You must be able to fit the ice harvester module, so you do need to train ice mining or on your as a skill. The thing about ice mining is that there's no such thing as a partial block of ice. Every block of ice is 1,000 cubic meters. And you need a complete cycle on your ice harvester to get that 1,000 cubic meter block. If you stop halfway through the cycle, you get nothing, which is different than an ore laser or a strip miner. So when you stop, you get whatever it is, the amount of ore that has been building up. So you cannot do that with an ice harvester. So it's all about cycle time. How can I reduce cycle time? Yeah, there would be a lot of perching. That's true. Unlike mining roids, you get nothing if you stop halfway through. You want to take it all the way through. So, to reduce your ice mining cycle time, and by the way, the best ice cycle time, if you have perfect skills, all of the appropriate implants, perfect rigs, perfect everything, is 101 seconds. 101 seconds, if that's with Orca support, by the way. Full-blown, maximized Orca support. So the fastest you can get a block of ice is 101 seconds. People do everything they possibly can if you're a serious ice miner to get it down. Generally speaking, as a solo ice miner, you're going to see cycle times of around 130 to 150 seconds. So, 101 is the best that you can do. To reduce your ice mining cycle times, you want to get a ship that has the best bonuses for that, which means you're going to be flying exhumers, generally speaking. You can also fit certain implants, like the Yeti Ice Harvesting IH-1000, which I don't have a link to that. Let's see if I can find that. I can at least post the name of it. You beat me. Well, thank you. Yes, and there are 3 variants. There's the 1001, the 1003, and the 1005. And that last number refers to the percentage improvement in ice cycle time. That fits in slot 10. So if you're a serious ice miner, and I am, then you have a Yeti Ice Harvesting 1005 in there. That will help reduce your cycle time by an additional 5%. Shiloh asks, is ice mining more profitable? Generally, not. Now, I will tell you that ice prices go up and down because ice is used primarily for pause fuel. So if there are a lot of people putting up pauses, then the value of ice goes up. If people are slacking off on that, then the value goes down. Also because of the price fluctuations in the market on ore and mineral prices, sometimes ice mining is more profitable and sometimes it's not. But it does make money. I mean, it's definitely worth it. The main reason why people mine ice is because it's so easy to do. You can go to an ice belt. You basically orbit the same asteroid. They take forever to deplete. I can mine the same asteroid literally for 12 hours at a stretch, and it never depletes, which is fantastic. So I don't have to pay any attention. I turn on my ice harvesters, and I kick back and I read a book. And I actually have a timer on my computer, and every 101 seconds, it dings at me and I know, okay, I've got another belt. I got another ice, and I check and I make sure, okay, how full am I? And then I go back to reading my book. So, it really is perfect for AFK mining, and, it doesn't require a lot of effort. And there are people that I know that basically, fly their ice miners around ice belts while they've got Eve running in the background all day at work. And they make a little money that way. So if you're interested in doing something kind of solo mining, ice mining is sort of the ultimate solo mining activity. Yep, Dotland would be a good place for ice belt locations. And also I would recommend the Ombi 2D maps, which you can download. They're a little out of date now, but they still list all the different ice belt locations. Okay, we already talked about the medium ice harvester accelerator, which is a specialized rig that reduces ice cycle time by 12%. This is why you have specialized Mackinaws, because you're going to be fitting them specifically for ice mining, and that's why I have 2 of them, one for ore mining and one for ice mining. That's great. All right, any questions about ice mining? Ice mining does require specialized skills. If you want to do ice refining, you have to train ice refining skills as well. You can make a little money at it, and a little bit less than ore mining for sure, but it requires very little maintenance, and it's really easy to do. There are no drones. Good question, Drew. There are no drones that help with ice mining, and you cannot use mining drones on ice mining. You can only use ice harvesters. Unfortunately, that would be cool if you could, but you don't. That's because of the cycle time. Okay, drones aren't big enough to store 1,000 cubic meters apparently, so they cannot use them for ice mining. The answer to your question, Eklon, yes, because I do it all the time. The question is, do you think that solo mining ice can be feasible in supporting a small pause? Yes, it can. In fact, I will do ice mining about once a week, and I generate enough ice out of that to be able to support my pause for a month. A small pause. If it's a large pause, it's going to be more dedicated. It's going to be more difficult, but you can definitely support a small high-sec pause with 3 labs in it by doing mining, say, once a week, and that'll be enough to get enough fuel for. Actually, I said a month. It's more like 3 weeks, 21 days. But I do have ridiculously good mining skills. So if your mining skills are not as high as mine and you don't have Orca support, could take longer. Let's talk about gas mining. How many people here have not mined gas clouds? Give me a wave in the chat channel if you have not yet mined a gas cloud. Okay, that's just about everybody. Gas harvesting is less common. For those of you who don't know, why would I want to mine gas? Well, gas is used for manufacturing booster drugs and for certain Tech 3 component manufacturing. So there is value in gas mining. There's a lot of people who want the things that come out of gas clouds, either for booster drugs, for temporary improvement of certain ship capabilities, or for Tech 3 strategic cruiser manufacturing of different components. To be able to find those gas clouds, you need to be able to do exploration. And in particular, you need to be able to probe down LADAR sites. LADAR exploration sites are where you find gas clouds. They are very rare in HiSec, unfortunately. If you ever find a LADAR site in HiSec, go get it immediately, because people will be all over it and they'll be sucking the gas out of that cloud as quickly as they possibly can. You just don't find very many of them in HiSec. You find them more commonly in LowSec. But I don't like to do anything in low-sec because I think it's really dangerous. Leave it up to you. You find them fairly frequently in exploration sites in nullsec and, of course, in wormholes, because wormholes are technically 0-0. So most people who do gas mining do so in wormholes. In order to do gas mining, you need to have the gas cloud harvesting skill. You can find those listed there under industry. There's a very good tutorial on the EVE University wiki that describes it in some detail. There's the link there. Feel free to avail yourself of that. Basically, it's very much like ice mining. You fit a gas harvester. If you have the appropriate skills, you fly up to the cloud within range and you suck it in. So, and it collects over a period of time. So it's very similar to gas cloud mining. Yui asks, what ship would be a good choice for gas mining? That used to be one of the large exhumers, for example, but today, because of the venture and the special bonus that it gets for gas mining, I would have to say that is the best ship for gas mining, especially in wormholes, because it's small, hard to probe down, and fairly agile if you fit it correctly. Yesterday, if you go back to the Mining 101 syllabus, you'll find fits for gas mining on a venture. So if you're interested in doing gas mining, I would recommend you do it in a venture that is fitted specifically for mining in wormholes. Yes, gas goes into the ore hold. Yeah, thank you. It's treated just like a mineral. It does not go in the cargo hold. It goes in the ore hold. In fact, the venture gets a 5% bonus to gas harvesting yield per level of mining frigate skill trained. It's the only ship in the game that gets a bonus for gas harvesting. Let's talk a little bit about Merkatsit mining, and then leading a mining operation, and we'll wrap up. Merkatsit mining is done in nullsec only, and only in the truest null security systems that are out there. It's the only way to be able to get more fight. You have to be able to fit deep core lasers to mine Merkatsit. They only fit on mining barges and exhumers. It does require a specialized skill, which is the deep core mining skill. Robert, I'm sorry, I didn't see your question. Gas mining does not flag you as a criminal. Gas mining is considered just like any other ore. Using illegal booster drugs, or actually not using them, but transporting them in high-sec will flag you as a criminal. All right, but gas mining itself will not, okay? So if you collect the gas and then you have a pause and you create booster drugs and they're of anything more than the synth level, and then if you transport them in high-sec, you run a risk of actually being discovered and not flagged as a criminal. Actually, you get your stuff confiscated and then mined. So actually, there's no criminal flag whatsoever. It's completely safe. So gas mining does not flag you as a criminal. You do get a standing loss and a small fine, and you could lose everything you're trying to smuggle, but there's no danger other than that. Okay, back to Mercosite mining. It does require the deep core mining skill, which you can see listed under the industry category that I posted there. Each level trained will reduce the chance of a damage cloud forming while mining Mercosite. That's right. If you have very low deep core mining skills, there's a good chance of having your Mercosite actually explode on you, which can damage or potentially blow up your ship. So if you're serious about mining Mercosite, again, this is something you want to train up to level 5, deep core mining skill, which then takes that chance to 0. Okay? Otherwise, there's always a chance that it may actually explode and blow up your ship. Vishnu, unfortunately, there's not a real effective way to smuggle in high-sec without a risk of discovery. It's directly related to the security status of any given system. Yeah, some people will say, Martis, that the skill is not worth training up because the radius is not sufficiently large. That is, there's some truth to that. So if you mine at a distance, you can protect yourself. But most people go ahead and take it up to the maximum level anyway, not only to reduce the amount, but because they just like having dedicated people to do it effectively. There is a specialized Mercosite mining rig known as the Medium Mercosite Mining Crystal Optimization Rig. Let me go ahead and post the link to that, unless someone can beat me doing it. There you go. So if I'm going to have this is again another situation where you're going to have a very dedicated ship to mine Mercosite, and you're going to fit at least one of those, or fit one of those Mercosite mining optimization rigs. It reduces or actually improves the yield by 16%. So if you're serious about doing that, and by the way, Mercosite is extremely valuable. You can make good money doing it. It's the most valuable ore in the game, and that's why people do it. Okay, let's talk about leading a mining operation. If you're ever interested in being a mining boss, and in the AMC they do this all the time, first of all, you need to schedule the operation with your team. Most people do that by posting it in corporate fleets. Do scout out where you're going to be doing the operation in advance if you can, and then you want to create some bookmarks to where you want to go to be able to have access to the maximum number of asteroids. That's always a good thing to do. I always know when I'm flying with a good mining boss because they know, all right, we're going to go to this particular, we're going to switch over to the left side. They already have the bookmarks in place and makes it very more convenient for everybody. So if you're going to be a mining boss, plan it out in advance. Go to the belts in the system that you're going to do that and put in some bookmarks or reserve some bookmarks to make it easier for people to warp to you, and go ahead and scout it out. Also, you want to arrange for Orca support, and you are also going to want to arrange for haulers. Now, that can be an additional Orca or a freighter now, so you're going to want to get that organized in advance. Okay. Also, it's helpful to have some folks in your fleet find out who has perfect refine and ask them if they can take the ore and refine it for you. So that's always helpful to get in advance as well. As far as paying the team, there are some dedicated spreadsheets which are very helpful. Let me give you a couple links to these. There's one that's a mining ops spreadsheet that's pretty good. There's another mining ops spreadsheet that's in Google Docs here. There's Scrapyard Bob's Mining Ops Worksheet, which I think is very, very good. I recommend this one. There you go. That last one is the one I like the best. There's also a program called Mining Buddy, which I've also used. It's a dedicated mining op management application. It's no longer fully supported. The updates are kind of sporadic, but it's not bad. So if you're serious about being a mining fleet boss, then the Mining Buddy might be something you might want to look at. Personally, I use the Scrapyard Bob Mining Op Worksheet. He keeps that updated pretty nicely, and it's real easy to use. So that's the one that I would recommend. There's a guide on the wiki for running a mining operation if you want to learn a little bit more about it. And in fact, there is a class, a recorded class in the Eve University library of people talking about how to do all this stuff more effectively. And it's about 40 minutes and it's worth a listen. And there's the link to the class as well. That should still be current. Let me know if anybody has any problems with that link. So, if you're not used to flying in a mining fleet, as I said yesterday, miners are very social. It requires a nominal amount of attention. A good mining fleet boss will keep track of when people check in and out. They have the appropriate support, and they've done it all in advance. It can go very quickly. It's also real pretty to see all the nice lasers going simultaneously and destroy roids. And you can chat. It's a really great thing to do on a Saturday afternoon while you're sipping a beer, flying around, and making ISK. So I do recommend it. It can be a lot of fun. Also, if you're serious about mining, please join the Ammar Mining Camp, otherwise known as the AMC. Here's a link to that for more information. I think some people have posted that before, and also do get into the industry.e-uni chat channel, and you can ask for help there. Miners tend to hang out there as well.